Woo! I tell you, Michelle Obama. Now her podcast may not be doing all of that, but she's been serving up some bangers lately. Let's take a listen.
We grew up with women who weren't voicing the pain, and the burden. They made it look easy. And when you make stuff look easy, people assume that you must like this.
Yeah.
It's okay with you, right?
Right.
You know, we don't articulate as Black women our pain because it's almost like nobody ever gave us permission to do that.
And does anyone care?
Yeah, there's
Will
that.
they care?
If
that
we
part.
knew, I think we would care.
It seems apparent. And as Black women, sometimes we, you know, there is that underlying thing we're socialized to believe from very early on that we don't deserve any better. And also as Black women, we are so easily labeled as angry and bitter.
Now, I'm sitting here like, oh my gosh, like she's trying to paint this picture as if Black women everywhere are being silenced, they're being held back, and nobody understands, and we have to be quiet, and we have to carry the weight of the world on our shoulders, and we have to be silent about it, and all of that. And even though we're the most highly educated in the whole solar system, and things present and things to come, and we're just everything, but we have to be nothing, you know. And this is the picture that she's trying to paint for all Black women. But, you know, anybody with this, with any lick of honesty, know that this is highly, highly inaccurate. In fact, Black women are given many opportunities to express themselves. Here's some examples. All you have to do is spend 5 minutes, no, 2 minutes, no, 1 minute. Get on any social media platform, and that's what you're going to see a lot of.
Whatever rhetoric they put out about me, I am a very serious lawmaker. At the same time, if you try me, you will find out. I just want to be clear about that, because I am truly a Black woman.
What the do I have to do in this council in order to get respect as a Black woman?
Fuck the baby. What the baby? What the baby?
Fuck the baby. They felt annoyed being in an elevator full of Black girls. I caught her facial expression, then she ran out the elevator so fast with her dad.
I'm taking charge, watch you rise up. Every step, every beat, it's my time. Ooh, I'm bold, I'm fierce, niggas, yeah, I'm a fighter. When my roots new styles, time my blows, getting brighter. Wrong, let me know I'm the one. Your style got the grace, never back to down fun. I'm strong, I'm proud. You better recognize me. Shine bright like a star, can't you see?
From the first page of this book until the last, you did it. You brought it. You opened yourself up. You allowed us to see in. And
as far as I'm concerned, you randomly kidnapping folk and you throwing them out of the country against their civil rights, against their constitutional rights. And frankly, how would they feel if some other country decided that they were going to just start throwing people randomly in our country?
In fact, if Ketanji Jackson, I hope I'm saying her name right, take a look at this right here. Take a look. Look at how many words she said in comparison to all the other Supreme Court justices. Anyway, now, did you see the Carmelo Anthony press conference that featured the parents and their preacher guy that's like their spokesperson or whatever? It was one thing that I noticed that I didn't hear anybody really saying. I don't remember the father really given an opportunity to say anything. Now, maybe I missed that part, but all I saw was this preacher speaking and the mother speaking, but I didn't really see the father saying anything. But this is the clip right here that I want us to focus on for this video.
Well, speaking of parenting, I wanted to talk, Marlon, a bit about, just so proud of how you are being a role model for dealing with a child that's transgender.
Absolutely.
And that's, that warms my heart, particularly as a Black man. Would you care to share that journey?
Now, if you've been following our videos, we have been talking about a couple of things when it comes to from the the recent presidential elections, we were talking about this whole 92%, the people identify themselves as a 92%, which is made up of mostly, well, pretty much all black women. That represents the 92% of black women who voted for Kamala Harris.
I'm black just like you, deep fried with some vindaloo. I'm even an AKA.
Right? And so they refer to themselves as a 92%. Platforms like ours and others, we really listened to what they had to say and the messaging that they were putting out, and they were making it very clear on some of the stances that they were taking, along with the preachers in the black churches that they were standing with.
That we can live on and say, I thank you that I'm a woman, but I'm wise. I'm gay, but I'm godly.
One of which is this issue of LGBTQ, XYZ, and all the other ones, all the other letters. They made it very clear that this is something that they want to carry. This is a banner that they want to carry, that they identify with this. And we just heard former First Lady Michelle Obama saying that she was really moved by this, right? And really wants to, feels that as a black woman as it pertains to LGBTQ, more specifically people who identify as transgender. And if you take a look at, all around you, some of the loudest voices, some of the strongest voices that you'll see on this whole topic of transgenderism is, in fact, black women. There are many examples that I'm just going to show you right quick.
Thank you so very much. I love you so much. It's beautiful.
According to them, the trans kids that want to play the sports, Lord have mercy, that is the biggest issue that we had. Since when? Since when? Find the little trans child that is ruining your life. I'm just like, what are we doing? What are we doing?
Now, if this is your first time watching this channel or seeing me, I just want to welcome you to my platform and glad that you're here. I would really, really, really encourage you to go back and look at the last few videos that we did where we talked about this and how the differences between men and women and what men and women bring to the table naturally and how we are to respect both of them and really invest ourselves in understanding these things. Like when oftentimes when people wave off women and say you're just being too emotional, well, that's not a good approach to take because, emotions is really what makes us who we are. And when I say us, it's not just women, it's also men. Men do have emotions. But and women too. Women tend to be more in tune with emotions than men are. Where men come into the picture is that we have a very innate ability, when raised in a proper environment of a mother and a father that are stable, right, emotionally and the whole nine. Men have this innate ability to be able to compartmentalize situations as they arise. When something happens, men tend not to get all in their emotions and make all kinds of just rash decisions about things like that or whatever. But we tend to compartmentalize things and plot a strategy on how to navigate through these things. Now, women, on the other hand, they do have an ability to do that. However, that's not really generally speaking, is not a strength. It's not. And that's not putting them down. That's just the reality of it. But the strength that we pull from women is the importance of bringing balance to being too compartmentalized. Hope I'm saying that right. And the importance of being in tune with our emotions as we are analyzing and looking at things. And likewise, where we help women is being able to navigate those emotions so that the two, when we come together, we're actually making a complete picture and we're not competing against one another. And like I said, please go back to those videos and watch them, because, and even on our posts on our community page, I talk about this in great length. And so I really encourage you to watch those. So when we look at this whole issue of transgenderism, what we are seeing, this picture of a transgender person, this is a person that believes that they were born in the wrong gender, which what they're basically saying is their confidence in their gender, in their born identity, is pretty much non-existent. And so so more and more we're starting to see, now this isn't a new thing that has arisen. This has been back going as far as time itself. I mean, you've had people who made these same claims as well, but is this something that's natural? That's what we're talking about here. And but look, first let's look at it this way. Again, when someone says that they are not confident in the gender that they're in, what they're saying, what that is saying is that there is something there that we have to start looking at a little closely. Why? Why is that? Do you just accept that as is? Or do you really go in deep and start asking these probing questions and going further? Is what happened? Did something happen? Was there any kind of traumas or whatever that took place there? And when you start asking these probing questions, more often than not, people don't want to dive into that. Instead, they want to hush you up and say, no, we don't want to talk about that. But we have to talk about these things, because anything that comes attached with telling you to change your voice, literally take medications to alter your voice, the tone of your voice, anything that tells you to remove your breast, anything that tells you that it's okay to remove the skin from your forearm or from your thighs so that you can formulate an appendage that you weren't born with, anything that tells you to literally go into your born reproductive organs and to physically remove them and to replace it with a bunch of plastic and other man-made products, that is not natural. There is nothing about that that's natural. That's everything about that speaks volumes of Frankenstein. And have people telling us and trying to convince us that this is normal, it's not normal. And more specifically, when we have black women who are leading the charge in this and saying that this is normal, what they are basically saying is that if someone can look at that and say that's normal, that tells us the perspective that they're coming from. They are saying that from a very skewed perspective, because broken people are attracted to broken people. That's just how it works. And we have unfortunately, this specific group of women that are out here convincing men that it's okay to be something that you're not. And like I said, the blame goes on both sides. We're dealing with broken women on one hand, broken, emotionally, whatever traumas that they went through, right? And then you're also dealing with broken men who came out of situations where they didn't get that balance. And so it comes out in several ways, one of which is, some of these men will develop into and start questioning their gender and everything else, because all they've been surrounded with are women. That's all they've been surrounded with. So you got that expression. The other expression that you'll see are men who are very aggressive, that they just fly off the handle on everything, because all they have been groomed with is a mother and she only knows to express herself in how she's been created, and that is in her emotions. But if she's one that is broken, those emotions are going to go way off kilt. And so the only example that these young men are going to see are going to be that. Do you understand what I'm saying? And so that's why you see, and then if the man isn't there to help navigate this young man through, or the young woman through these different emotions, it just creates a whole generation of individuals who just fly off the handle off of the most simplest of things. Now, before I go, I just want to share with you just a couple of videos that I was able to find of people who went through these transitions. The ones that Michelle Obama is saying that as a black woman, she feels them and wants to protect them and encourage them and all of that stuff. Well, this is the other side of it, that many black women who do encourage this lifestyle, they don't want to talk about it, but we're going to talk about it. In fact, we're going to let them talk about it. And let's just finish the video here and let them talk.
I'm a woman who transitioned into a man and detransitioned all by God's grace. And in the beginning, before, when I didn't really know that God was pursuing me and I was just living my life, you know, one of my friends that I knew before I ever transitioned, we did music together. We ended up catching up, and so he came over to my apartment. We didn't do anything. He slept on the couch, and the next day was Sunday.
This video is not easy for me to record, but I just want to open up about my experience. So for over 10 years, I've said I was a lesbian, and I dress masculine. And I know some people, they're born in the LGBT since they were little. This is my story. I didn't become a lesbian because I wanted to. I became a lesbian because at the age of 15, I was SA'd. And I started dressing masculine so that'll never happen to me again. So when I'm outside and men look at me, they're not looking at me like a piece of meat, because that's what I felt. So I had to protect myself. And for many years, I continued to dress like this, to dress masculine, to be more masculine, to heal and, well, to protect me.
Thank you so much for tuning in. You guys take care, and I'll see you again in the next video.